Have you checked out all the new handicappers at WagerTalk? If not, here's your chance. You can take 50% off your first daily or 3-day all-access purchase at WagerTalk using coupon code TRYWT. Our new roster of experts is 30 deep, covering sports from all around the world, giving you tons of options to choose from. All you have to do to redeem this offer is go to WagerTalk.com, choose a handicapper of your choice, and use coupon code TRYWT at checkout, saving 50% on your first purchase.
Welcome into First Pitch for Wednesday, April 20th. I am Drew Martin, joined by Adam Trigger, and a special day, not only because it's 420, but because we got Ariel Epstein, prop queen by some, making her WagerTalk First Pitch debut. Ariel, welcome in. Good to have you.
Thanks so much, DMV, for having me on. I am pumped to be here finally.
Yeah, we're excited to have you breaking down the games. Of course, you can find Ariel on Twitter at Ariel Epstein, also Yahoo Sports and MLB Network as well. We got Adam Trigger at Top Flight SI. Adam, welcome in, buddy.
What's going on, guys? Looking forward to breaking down the games today. I'm name tagless right now, but it's okay. We're going to get through it, break them down, hopefully find some winners here.
Let's get after it. Yeah, heading to the Motor City. First game up here, New York Yankees at the Detroit Tigers, 6:40 Eastern start. We get Severino versus Eduardo Rodriguez. We get Severino here, Ariel, the 28-year-old Dominican. 2 starts so far, 8 innings, 2 earned runs, 11-2 strikeout to walk ratio. Of course, Rodriguez going for the Tigers, knows this Yankees lineup, pitching there for the Red Sox for quite some time. 2 starts this year against 2 tough lineups, the White Sox and the Red Sox. 7 strikeouts, 5 walks. Look decent at times. What's your thought here in the Motor City, Yanks and Tigers?
I hate everything about backing the New York Yankees in any capacity right now. Yesterday was absolutely brutal watching this game. The first inning, there was a situation with the Tigers getting into a jam, should have gotten out of it with no runs scored. And there was an infield fly right in front of the catcher. Both the catcher and the pitcher looked at each other as if they didn't know who's supposed to catch the infield fly. Nobody ended up catching it, and 2 runs scored. So the first 5 under was dead probably before it even began. Anyway, I'm going with a K prop in this game. I'm betting the over 5.5 strikeouts on the Tigers starter, Eduardo Rodriguez. Drew, you mentioned it. Rodriguez was really good last year against the Yankees. He went over this number in 3 out of 4 starts against them, and he went way over it with 7, 8, 8, and 8 strikeouts. Actually, he had 1 more in there, but there was a one game where he only went 1 inning and had 1 strikeout. The Yankees do have a top 10 K rate overall this year. They have the 9th highest K rate against right-handed pitchers, a left-handed pitcher, which is what Rodriguez is. The Yankees K rate actually goes up by a full percent when up against the left-handed pitcher. I know that with what Rodriguez is pitching recently, he hasn't been that great since coming over to Detroit. I like the familiarity, though. He knows the AL East. He knows the New York Yankees. As I mentioned, he faced them 5 times last year, struck them out at least 7 times in 4 out of those 5 games. I'm going with the over 5.5 strikeouts on Rodriguez.
Bring in the goods with the K-prop. Trig, coming to you next. Ariel mentions a lot there in terms of Erod versus the Yankees. And at the same time, both of these lineups have struggled out the gate. Ariel talked about, betting on the Yankees, maybe pumping the brakes there. Of course, their OPS, 662, even worse against lefties, just 629. But at the same time, if you're looking to bet the side, the Tigers aren't exactly hot out of the gate either. 596 OPS, bottom 5 in MLB. Both lineups kind of cold right now. What does that kind of make for you here in the Motor City?
Well, I mean, the first thing I looked to, as soon as I saw that this was the matchup, these were the pitchers, which could I back the under? And Unfortunately, that number's a little bit low. They're really forcing you to pay a premium to back the under here at 7.5. And Severino's got good numbers against the Tigers, too. Ariel pointed out Erod's numbers against the Yankees. So, I mean, I guess a low-scoring game makes sense, but I have, right now, both of these two teams are the 2 lowest runs per game teams in the league coming into this game. I don't think that's going to stay that way. Yankees seem to, they're probably going to score via the long ball, but I don't know that happens here. The Tigers will score some runs. They're not going to be a bottom offensive team all year. So I'm priced out of the total because of the 7.5, though I still think runs could be at a premium, which has me look. I'll kind of play off what Ariel said. I think we see a little bit of a bounce back for Erod. Tough start as a Tiger, but he has been really good against the Yankees, who haven't hit at all. Tigers plus 1.5 is kind of cheap here, Drew. It's only minus 120, and you can even chop that around. You might be able to find a minus 115 on Tigers plus 1.5. And, the Yankees really had to use up their bullpen yesterday. They did have an off day on Monday, so I don't know that means guys are unavailable per se, but they certainly had to go.
It's not ideal, though, when you have your ace on the mound and Garrett Cole, who goes 1 2/3 innings, and now you have to throw your entire bullpen out there. This wasn't a Garrett Cole 5-inning outing. This was a 1 2/3 inning. This was Tampa Bay Rays style that the Yankees had to go to the bullpen. And don't get me wrong, the Yankees have been one of the best bullpens in the league. They've had their bullpen throw more innings than I think every team except the Angels so far this year. They were out second and third, and they still have the second or third best bullpen ERA. The problem is you had to use everybody yesterday. Severino can go deep. These two teams can't score. They're going to need Severino to give them 6 to at least have a shot. But the Tigers and the Yankees, 3rd and 4th in runs scored per game, 3rd and 4th at the lowest. I mean, they do not score a lot. So I know Trig alluded to that. These pitchers do have a shot with Rodriguez having familiarity, Severino being able to go 5 or 6 innings. I like the plus 1.5 play, Trig. These Yankee games seem to stay pretty close. The Yankees just can't score. The Tigers can't score. And that's no testament to pitching. That's just terrible runners in scoring position averages.
Yeah, and just one more point there, because that's a great point in terms of that. But, plus 1.5, if you're going to get a low total of 7.5, and runs are probably going to be at a premium, plus 1.5 is a great way to play it if you can get a good value. And when I say good value, I really mean you don't want to spend a ton of juice on these plus 1.5s, because the books typically force you to pay for that. But in this case, since the Tigers are at home, they're not, getting that sort of road, one extra at bat. You can get plus 1.5. It's only minus 115 or minus 120. And I think we all agree that this kind of profiles as a lower scoring game. So, yeah, I think Tigers plus 1.5 is the way I would play it from a side perspective. And I don't know if I can jump in with the total at 7.5. Just not enough room for error.
I like the way you structured that, Trig, in terms of plus 1.5 with the low total. I could see that kind of being correlated there. Ariel, hey, last thing before we move on to Tampa Bay and the Cubs. We see the Yankees moniker in the back there. I believe lifelong Yankees fan. What are your thoughts here on the AL East? Where do you think the Yankees, when it's all said and done this season, where do you think they end up in the standings?
Probably 2nd or 3rd of the AL East like they always do. They'll get hot probably around August, give all Yankees fans false hope, fall flat in the playoffs around the divisional round. That's what I think about the Yankees. Their bullpen looks great, though. That's something that's really shocked me. Their bullpen really struggled last year to keep the Yankees in games. There were so many times last season where the Yankees would be up by 5-6 runs. It would be the 6th inning, 7th inning. The game ends up being decided by 2 runs or less almost every time. The Yankees last year had the most games decided by 2 runs or less than anybody in baseball. That's because their bullpen couldn't hold on to leads. I'm really nervous about their starting rotation. The Yankees ace Garrett Cole has been struggling ever since the sticky stuff got taken away last year. This isn't about Garrett Cole getting bad luck, like certain pitchers just have bad fielders or they get bad breaks or something. No. Everything's off with Garrett Cole. If your ace can't go more than 2 innings, something's wrong. This is terrible. So I'm really nervous about the Yankees starting rotation, and obviously their hitting it'll come to life eventually. It's just not, they don't have enough contact hitters. They have DJ LeMahieu and everybody else just strikes out. So that's the biggest problem when you're boom or bust.
Sure, a little station to station, a little too much station to station in that lineup. I agree with that. Guys, we got 2 more games, best bets at the end. Huge shout out to the chat box. Ernesto, we got C. James saying prop queen in the house. Absolutely. Please smash that like button if you're liking the content, and feel free to reply below in the reply section on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. We got next game up here, Trig, Tampa Bay Rays. Chicago Cubs, 6:30 Eastern, first pitch here. Robinson versus Stroman. Total of 9, competitively priced game here, Trig. Minus 110 is what we're mostly seeing. That's the Rays as the short away favorite. What are you liking in Wrigley today?
So nice segue here from the last game because I still think the Rays are probably the best team in the AL East if they're healthy, and they're not right now. So that's been an issue for them to start the season, right? We see Ryan Yarbrough and Luis Patino go on the DL early. It's really taxed their bullpen, which is tough for them because the Rays bullpen is such an integral part of them being the team that they are and has been in the past. So, you're seeing the Rays, man. They've yet to have an off day this year. They've played every single day so far, 13 straight days, with injuries to pitching. So it's been really difficult on their bullpen. They've thrown the most innings in the league to this point, and I think the Rays, to get through that at 6-6 is actually pretty impressive. Tough 4-game losing streak, but they've battled back since then, won 2 of their last 3. The way I'm going to look at this one, you have Rasmussen starting for the Rays, who's been much better as a starter. I'd be a little concerned backing the Rays full game because it's just been a long 2 weeks. They got an off day tomorrow, and their bullpen has been taxed. But they've seen Stroman a bunch because Stroman was in the AL East for a long time. They faced him the Mets did play the Rays last year. They hit him well. So I think minus 115 on Rays first 5 here is cheap. Rasmussen's been good. I was talking last week on the show how he was I think he was minus 200 at one point, being priced as a top pitcher in the AL. I think he lost that particular game. It's come back a little bit. And now Rays first 5 minus 115. When you think they might hit Stroman, and it's really a game that they need. They've been struggling. So to get out of this and stay above 500, I think is a big deal. So I think there's some value in the Rays. Rasmussen 4-0, 1.72 ERA in his last 15 appearances. So he's been solid. Rays are still the better team. So I would look Rays and I'd play at the first 5.
Ariel, we saw Stroman give up 5 earned runs last time out, but it was in Colorado. That's always kind of a tricky handicap. How much does that matter? His next start, which obviously in Wrigley now, Cubs bats hot, top 5 in MLB in terms of OPS. What are you liking in Wrigley?
Yeah, I really do like Chicago here. And I know that full game is really tough because Tampa Bay has had a shaky bullpen, which is usually not ideal for Tampa Bay. Usually they're known for being able to throw everybody out there. You can't take games at Coors Field fully into consideration when handicapping. Every time I see pitchers go out to Coors, they are a different pitcher. And maybe they don't give up 5. Their K rates go down though. And this is a good opportunity for Stroman to try to get right. Tampa Bay strikes out a lot. They have the 9th highest K rate overall and the 4th highest against right-handed pitchers. I was looking at Stroman's strikeout prop. I was thinking of betting the over. A little bit nervous about it just because Stroman's so inconsistent. That's going to be the biggest thing because Stroman could be really hot or just really not. And the Cubs are middle of the pack bullpen ERA. I do like the play with the Tampa Bay first 5 just because I would rather rely on Rasmussen. But when it comes to bullpens, I'm actually relying more on the Cubs bullpen than I am on the Rays right now, especially like Trick said, so many games that they've played straight. That's what leads me to Chicago between the bats and the better pen. I could see this minus 105 being decent value. It is trending towards even money, back to minus 105, seeing majority of action coming in on the Cubs. I don't love anything in this game, to be perfectly honest. It's not something that I'm probably going to get to the window on. However, if I had to take a side, I'd say maybe Stroman over on strikeout props just because the Rays strike out a lot, not just this year, but last year too. They were a top 5 K rate team as well.
Good stuff, Ariel. And Trig, last question to you on this game. You brought up a great point in terms of schedule dynamics with the Rays, 13 straight, obviously on the road here in Wrigley with a day off tomorrow. Is that something you've noticed in your handicapping, not only this year, maybe last year, of it being a certain situation you looked to kind of fade or maybe bet on in some form or fashion? What exactly were you going at there?
Well, Drew, so we'll get to it in best bets. I have maybe a better example of this. I think just to answer the question about schedule dynamic, I think when you've got a team that really needs one, throughout the major league season, it's such a you have to manage your team through 162 games. So there's going to be spots where you're not as willing to, unload your top relievers or, you're going to live to fight another day. that doesn't always occur. The times you would not do that would be when you have an off day the next day, right? So like if you have an off day the next day, you're going to be more inclined to use all your high leverage bullpen arms because you know you have the day to reset. Whereas if you have a game the next day, the managers constantly have to have that in the back of their mind. If we use this guy, and this guy here, who do we have for tomorrow? So I'll circle back on this because I'm going to talk about it in best bets with a different game where I think it comes more into play than this one. But it's certainly something to look at. You always want to look at the schedule and what do they have coming because it could tell you how the manager might play that game.
Yeah, good stuff. It just reminded me when we were all in Las Vegas for the WagerTalk party, I was talking with Jay Money, and he was talking about NBA schedule dynamics. If a team is on like a 5-game road trip on that 5th game before they're heading home, he's like, I never bet on that team in the NBA. I didn't know if it was, maybe a little bit correlated there to MLB, obviously different sports, but no, good stuff, Trig. Like it. We got one more game here, guys. Huge shout out to the chat box. C. James, Ariel, maybe with the comments so far of the day, try being a Pirates fan. I would give anything for false hope. I thought that one was funny. So maybe it's all right.
That's why they invented the props market.
Yeah, exactly. You can go a couple different ways here in the sports betting world. Last game before best bets, guys. Let's head out west. We got Baltimore Orioles at the Oakland Athletics. Lyles versus Jeffries here. We're seeing minus $1.25, Ariel. That's minus 125. The A's is the home favorite. We're seeing a total of 8. What do you like in 7 p.m. Eastern in Oakland?
This one's interesting because this line has moved a lot against Oakland. It was minus 150 last night, and now it's minus 125. Baltimore plus 120 is now at plus 105. Seeing decent amount of money, though, 74% of money backing the Baltimore Orioles in this game. Jordan Lyles is starting. I actually am betting the under 4.5 strikeouts on him. It's my favorite play of this game. It's because he went under this number in 3 out of 4 games against Oakland last season. The Athletics are striking out at just under 4 strikeouts per start against right-handers, so 3.7 is that exact number. You're getting a little bit of an edge here on that 4.5 being a little too high. I like the under Jordan Lyles, 4.5 strikeouts the most. Just keep in mind that weird line movement against Oakland. These books aren't moving lines 25 cents against a favorite because Joe Schmo's betting. They're moving that line because significant money is coming in that they respect on a team like someone betting on the Orioles. I mean, this isn't Yankees athletics. This is Orioles athletics, and you're seeing a 20-cent move in favor of Baltimore. Just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, a little under the radar stats there. And Trig, it's an under the radar game here. We're talking Orioles and Athletics. And really, I think some of this might have to do with the Athletics bullpen usage of late. They're not going to talk about high leverage arms here. Some of their best guys maybe not active, but both lineups here well under 650 team OPS. The Orioles, one of the coldest teams in baseball out the gate. I don't know if you can bet on them here, but the market obviously is. What are you liking in Oakland tonight?
Well, just to validate what Ariel said, I know the Orioles are sharp today. So I know that move's a sharp move. I can guarantee it was. That's why it moved like that. I agree with it to an extent. It's not going to make like a best bet for me. But the only way I would play this game would be to sort of roll with that and take the Orioles. The reasoning for that, I guess, the A's, they're off to what I would say is the absolute best start they could possibly be off to. Going into this season, this was one of the teams that like sold parts off like coming into the season, right? This is not a team that many are expecting to win. Even this might be a 100-loss team, or at least it was projected as such going into the year. So to see them at 7-5 is kind of incredible to this point, given what they have on the roster. And I think last week we talked about the A's, and I said, look, this team's gonna overachieve. Probably they're gonna play hard because that's the kind of a makeup that this team has. But at some point for the A's, the bottom's gonna fall out because they just don't have the talent to stay above 500. There's just not enough talent on this roster. You look at the bullpen, 15 innings coming into today where they haven't given up a run. I think there's going to be regression there. They have some nice bullpen arms, but I don't think this is going to be a top bullpen in the league by any means. So, Jordan Lyles, I've never been a real big Jordan Lyles fan, guy. Like I usually look to fade him throughout the years. But in this case, you you might actually see a good amount of A's relievers here. Jeffries has never thrown more than 5 innings in his career in the big leagues, in a big league outing. So you might see A's relievers. It's now the 3rd game of the series, and the Orioles, man, they haven't hit, but there's probably going to be a little bit of positive regression for the Orioles offense. Cedric Mullins hitting 130 right now. I don't think that's going to last. Guy was an all-star last year. He's a stud. Bottom of that Orioles lineup, not great, but there is some talent in the top of that Orioles order. So just from a strictly numbers play, I think there's a little value here on the Orioles as an underdog. But, both teams are inconsistent. These are both going to be teams that likely finish in last place in their division. So I'm not going to jump in for a best bet, but I would follow the sharp money here and play the Orioles if I was going to take this game.
All right, guys, it brings us to best bets here. I'll kick us off. We got one in the AL West. That is Houston and LA. I like the Houston Astros here, plus 110. The home dog is barking in the Stros. We get Ohtani going for the Angels. Last time out actually didn't look that good. And Ohtani's one of those pitchers, when he's pitching really well, I want to be betting on him. When he's a little bit shaky, I actually look to fade him. Great bat, great player overall, but I'm just talking about him as a pitcher. He's now on the road, tough place to pitch here in Minute Maid, and going up against the Astros. Now, guys, in this next, the Astros lineup is obviously very good. Altuve out of the lineup, but to tell you the truth, Altuve was only hitting, 167 on the season. And when you look at the Stros, their OPS is almost 100 points higher at home. Now, I don't know what it is, if they're just seeing it better at home, if they're banging on trash cans again, whatever the reason, if it's cash and tickets, follow it. Bet on the Astros at home, plus money here, plus the fact Jake Odorizzi, 670 team OPS against when he's faced the Angels. So he's actually pitched very well against this lineup. All of that adding up to the Astros. Seeing Ohtani for the second time in a 2-week span, I think that helps as well. So plus 110. Home dog is barking on the Stros. That's my best bet. We got Adam Trigger at Top Flight SI. Follow him on Twitter. Check him out, wagertalk.com. Trig, what do you got for best bet, bud?
Well, Drew, 4% play for me. Best bet, Philadelphia Phillies. I broke this down on WagerTalk today, and I kept calling Zach Eflin Zach Elfin for whatever reason. I've done this for like 4 years. I've said his name wrong since he's been in the league, and I can't. I don't know if I'm like a little dyslexic and I see the F and the L differently, but I can't wait to send you to the elf emoji after he pitches a good game here today. Anyway, to circle back to your question, Drew, here's a spot where I think there's a little bit of hidden bullpen value, okay? The Phillies are 4-8. That's an awful start for what this team is supposed to be this season, and this feels like a game they need to win. I know it's early in the season, but it feels like a game they need to win to avoid a sweep, and they're going into an off day. So the Phillies, in my opinion, would unload every good reliever they have in this game to try to avoid a sweep here. Whereas the Rockies, they won the last 2 games, and they needed Colome and they needed Bard to pitch big innings, get saves, and close out those games. So this is where I think the scheduling dynamic really favors the Phillies, just because I think, you're going to get to the later innings of this game, and the Phillies should have their better relievers available, and they should be more inclined to use all of them. Another thing, Marquez goes for the Rockies. 10 of his last 15 starts, but dating back to last season, he's given up 4 runs or more. So that outing against the Dodgers to start the year, maybe a little bit of a fluke. He's good, but he's a mid 4 ERA type guy to me. Eflin has had some of the worst luck in terms of defense behind him. He's been a victim of negative variance for a couple of years now. So I think what I'm going to look for here is for Eflin to pitch good enough to get us to the later innings of this game with a chance to win. And then I think the Phillies have the bullpen advantage. I know they're at the bottom right now in bullpen ERA. I think that changes. They made some nice wholesale moves in this bullpen that I like. And the Rockies are top 5 in the league in bullpen ERA. And I think they'll probably end up somewhere in the bottom 10 when it's all said and done this season. So Phillies minus 110. I think you're getting some nice value. It's a game they really do need to avoid just an absolute horrific start. And I think they get it at Coors Field this afternoon.
Flip favorite Trig and the market going with the Phils here, going up against the Rocks in Colorado. Always a tough bet. Good reasons why, though, from Adam Trigger, WagerTalk.com, Ariel Epstein from Yahoo Sports, MLB Network making her first pitch debut and bringing the heat with the strikeout props. Ariel, we got final thoughts, and if you got a best bet, feel free to throw it out there.
I'll give you two things. First, I'll stick with that game in Colorado. The best way to bet strikeout props, unders or stay away in Colorado. Whenever an away pitcher is at Coors Field, do not bet overs. Starting pitchers are averaging just over 3 strikeouts per start in Colorado. The away pitchers, I'm not talking about Rockies pitchers, away pitchers at Colorado. That's why today I'm going with the under 4.5 strikeouts on Zach Eflin. I know that Trig wants him to play well, and again, that doesn't mean that he could just get a lot of ground outs or something. Like, just don't strike out batters. That's all I'm asking. I'm going with the under. Coors Field unders are a play that I've been riding since early last year, thanks to WagerTalk's own mid-major Matt. He brought that up to me last season, and it's really been profitable. A lot of the times it's super juiced, and today Eflin wasn't really that juiced. I think it was around minus 130 range when I grabbed it. So bet the under 4.5 strikeouts on Eflin today. I also like the San Francisco Giants. This is my fishy line of the day. It's because the line moved in favor of San Francisco by 10 cents, minus 115 to minus 125. It flipped the Mets from minus 105 to plus 105. The Mets swept the doubleheader yesterday. The Mets are also getting 68%, 70% of the money right now. It's a great pitching matchup. I'm super excited to watch this game. You're going to get the Mets throwing Chris Bassett out there. You got the Giants throwing out their lefty, Carlos Rodon. This is an awesome pitching matchup. The thing is, the Mets are without their manager today. Their manager, Buck Showalter, is undergoing some procedure. All the best. Prayers. We hope that you're okay, Buck. The thing is, the next person you would look to be the manager is the bench coach. The bench coach has COVID. But now the next person you have to look to is your third base coach. Everything's getting thrown for a loop here in New York. The Mets don't have a leader. Rodon, he's been one of the best pitchers in baseball last year. He has a 2.30 ERA. He's averaging just under 13 strikeouts per 9 innings since the start of 2021. That is the best in Major League Baseball. His average velocity on his fastball has gone up from 95.4 to 97.1 since last year. He's gotten better. I like this Giants team too because their lineup, they've got like 5 lefties in their lineup. Bassett's been pitching well because righties have struggled against his splitter. So righties are like 0 for 9 or something against Bassett's splitter so far this year. His slider. But not like lefties. So since the Giants have a bunch of lefties to throw out at Bassett, I'm going to go with the San Francisco Giants money line on the road, avoiding the sweep.
Giants money line bringing the heat with the managerial aspect as well. That's Ariel Epstein, MLB Network, Yahoo Sports, Adam Trigger, WagerTalk.com. I am Drew Martin, WagerTalk.com. In best bet recap here, guys, got the Astros plus 110, Phillies minus 110, and Ariel on Eflin there. Under 4.5 strikeouts, minus 130, and a bonus pick with the Giants. Just heard it there, minus $1.25. So for Ariel Epstein, Adam Trigger, I am Drew Martin. Guys, we'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. Best of luck if you're tailing out there on the best bets. Thanks for tuning in.
Have you checked out all the new handicappers at WagerTalk? If not, here's your chance. You can take 50% off your first daily or 3-day all-access purchase at WagerTalk using coupon code TRYWT. Our new roster of experts is 30 deep, covering sports from all around the world, giving you tons of options to choose from. All you have to do to redeem this offer is go to WagerTalk.com, choose a handicapper of your choice, and use coupon code TRYWT at checkout, saving 50% on your first